Today's story is about a cigar chomping evil bull and his beautiful daughters, a truly spooky tale. My name is Ethan, and this story was passed down to me by my father. It happened to his uncle, my great uncle Charles, back when he was a young man, living out in the countryside. I should warn you, it's not the kind of story you forget. Back then, Charles lived with his parents and siblings on a vast, isolated ranch. Acres of wildland stretched in every direction, thick with trees, tall grass, and all kinds of animals. It was the kind of place where you could wander for hours without seeing another soul. Charles, being the oldest, loved going out alone with his rifle. He was always hunting something: rabbits, birds, the occasional deer. He'd grown up in those woods, thought he knew every inch of them. One afternoon, Charles grabbed his carbine and set off into the trees as he often did. But then the sun dipped lower. The sky burned orange, and still he didn't return. Evening came. Then night. The whole family waited nervously. When morning finally came and there was still no sign of him, they started searching. They searched for hours and hours, then a whole day, then two. By the third day of looking, my great-grandmother feared the worst. She believed the stories told by the old ranchers, tales of big wild cats still prowling the woods. Jaguars, they said, wild and hungry. Maybe he'd run into one. Maybe he'd never had the chance to fire a shot. But on the third day, they found him. Charles was perched high in a tree, barely conscious, pale, shaking, weak. They got him down and brought him home. He collapsed onto a bed and slept the entire day. When he woke up, he looked stunned, disoriented. He said, "What time is it?" When they told him he'd been gone for 3 days, his eyes widened. He swore he'd only been gone a few hours, and then he told them what had happened. That night, Charles had stayed out longer than usual. Darkness fell quicker than he'd expected, and not wanting to stumble into a jaguar or a wild dog, he climbed a tall tree and settled in to wait for daylight. He found a sturdy branch and tried to get comfortable. Just as he was dozing off, he heard something moving below. From the underbrush stepped a massive black bull. At first, Charles thought it might have escaped from a nearby ranch, since there were a few large cattle ranches nearby. But something was off. The bull wasn't acting like livestock. It was moving with purpose, slowly circling the tree. Then he saw it. The bull had a cigar in its mouth. Its eyes glowed a deep, unnatural red, like burning coals set into its skull. George stared, frozen. And then it spoke. "Charles," it said, "what are you doing up there? Don't you know who I am?" Charles didn't answer at first, but deep down, he knew. "You're the devil," he whispered. "That's right," the bull said. "Come down. I want to show you something. I promise. No harm will come to you." Charles said everything inside him screamed not to go, but something else, something he couldn't explain, compelled him to climb down. His arms trembled, his legs moved without his permission. He dropped to the forest floor, eyes fixed on the glowing red ones in front of him. "Climb onto my back," the devil said. And when Charles did, the bull shifted. It transformed into a giant bird, dark as the night sky. Its wings stretched wide, beating the air with a sound like thunder. They took off into the sky. Charles watched the trees disappear below them. They flew out over the ocean, the moon reflecting on the waves like a trail of broken glass. Eventually, they landed on a small, rocky island where a cave yawned open like the mouth of the earth. "Come inside," the devil said. Charles followed. Inside the cave were 3 women, the most beautiful he had ever seen, unbelievably perfect. Their eyes sparkled, their skin glowed, but they each had one thing in common: horns. curving out from their temples like a twisted crown. "Do you like my daughters?" the devil asked. "Pick one. She can be yours." Charles hesitated, then said, "Yes, but can you take off the horns?" The devil smiled. "If I do that, she dies." Then he offered Charles a drink, a goblet of something dark, red, and steaming. It looked very thick too. Too thick. Charles didn't take it. Something in his gut told him if he drank that beverage, he'd never leave this place. "Come," the devil said again. They flew once more, this time arriving at a busy tavern full of music and noise and, of course, liquor. Inside, men laughed, smoked, played cards. "I'm very hungry," said the devil. "So do me a favor, push that man over there, the one playing cards." Charles shook his head. "But I can't. He'll attack me." "They can't see us," the devil replied. "Go, push him now." Charles pushed the man. He stumbled over falling. Chaos then erupted. The man turned and blamed someone at another table. Words were exchanged. Then came the sound of gunfire and screams. Back in those days, almost everyone was armed. People dropped to the floor. Blood spilled across the wood. The smell of gunpowder filled the room. The devil got down on all fours and crawled like a lizard, lapping up the blood of the dead. "Time to go," he said. They flew back to the tree. Charles sat there stunned. He waited for sunrise, thinking the whole ordeal had taken an hour or two. But when they found him, it had been 3 full long days. But the story doesn't end there. After that, Charles was never again the same. He sat outside often, quiet, distant. He began carving strange dates into wooden planks. When asked who they were for, he'd go pale, hesitate, and whisper, "They're for my friend, the devil." He died at the age of 70, still on that same old ranch. His death was as strange as his story. He was out walking in the heat of the day, alone in the brush. No one saw what happened. They found him collapsed, badly sunburned, skin blistered as if he'd been under the sun for hours without shade. But here's the strangest part. He'd only been gone 15 minutes when that happened. I don't know if it was real, but my father swore it was, and in our family, we don't go hunting alone anymore. Not since Charles met the devil was in that tree.